Howdy everybody, there's a brand new Harley Davidson out there in the market. It's the new Sportster S. You guys are really
What
gonna
in tarnation? Did you say Sportster?
Yeah?
There's only one person on this channel who's qualified to talk about the Sportster, and that's me right here.
Do you want to tell the people about the Sportster?
Yeah, these people deserve someone who's talking about the Sportster whose burger's made out of burger.
All right, man, you make the video then, all right.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess so, yeah. Honestly, I didn't even want to make this video. That's cool with me.
See, now we're doing all right, right? Yeah, this is good. Whew, all right, that was a lot of high energy, but I'm gonna take all this gear off because I've actually got a lot to talk about, and this hat squeezes my head and makes me feel uncomfortable. So I'm gonna put all this stuff down and actually get to the point of what we're talking about today, the 2021 Harley Davidson Sportster S. Yes, I did see it. Yes, I know they are making it. And here's my video talking about it, so I'm patting you on the head. You don't need to DM me anymore. Okay, so now the Sportster S. Do I like it? Do I hate it? Do I think Harley Davidson is doing good? Do I think they're doing bad? I don't know. I haven't ridden the motorcycle yet. All I can say is that I am cautiously optimistic that they are going to get this motorcycle right. It's going to be difficult for them to nail it with the way that they have it set up, though, because it feels a little bit like they kind of pulled it out of the oven a little too soon. So let's talk about some specs on this motorcycle first and foremost. Now, this bike is using the Revolution Max, the 1250 from the Pan Am, but they've tuned it differently so it makes 121 horsepower and 94 foot-pounds of torque. Those are really big numbers from a Harley Davidson cruiser. The last one that was over 100 horsepower like that was the V-Rod, and we all know that that engine was co-developed with Porsche. That was a really crazy powerful bike at the time. I'm a little bit worried that the Sportster is going to go the way of the V-Rod, though, where it doesn't see wide adoption with the normal Harley Davidson crew. Now, the main thing that I think that they've gotten wrong with this motorcycle is they've called it a Sportster. I understand why, right? They want to make sure that Sportster guys have another motorcycle because the Sportster's going away. At least the Sportster as we know it. That's the one that's the Evo motor, 1200 cc's, air-cooled, 5 gears. That bike is going to go away. They're claiming that this is a replacement for it, and I don't think it is. I think that this motorcycle would have been better served to be running alongside the standard Evo Sportster, at least for a few more years here in the States. And the reason why is because Sportster guys love the Sportster. And I'm sure if you take a look at the YouTube comment section of the video that Harley Davidson put out, which I highly encourage you to go watch, we're gonna talk about that in a second, that you're gonna see a bunch of butthurt classic Harley Davidson guys who are sad that the Sportster has been replaced by this wild and new, crazy hopped up V-Rod for, millennials, basically. It doesn't feel like a Sportster to me as someone who is a massive Sportster apologist, and it's certainly not going to feel like a Sportster to the old guard. Now, I think that they probably should have revived the Nightstar nameplate because that was a significant motorcycle for Harley. For those of you who don't know, the Nightstar was a Sportster model from about 2007 when they went to fuel injection. That was the bike that basically launched the Dark Customs line. This is the sort of thing that birthed this Honda right here. Without the Nightstar, this blacked out Honda would just be kind of weird and edgy, but because of the Nightstar, it became this, genre-defining color scheme. It feels to me like this is the Nightstar 2.0. It's the new thing that's going to define the Harley Davidson experience going forward, and I think they made a mistake by calling it the Sportster. I really do. It's also not really the ethos of the Sportster because when you look at what that bike meant back in the day, it was supposed to be this lightweight cruiser that was powerful and sporty. Now, they've claimed that they've put the sport back in Sportster with this motorcycle. They've claimed that. I'm not going to say one way or the other, however, I am very dubious. And the main reason I am so dubious about this motorcycle is because they have put a 160 front tire on there. And I believe it's a 160/16, which is absolutely ridiculous. Let me pull it up here. It's a 160/70/17 on this motorcycle. That is a huge front tire. It's so big, in fact, that it is the same size as the rear tire on my SMCR. I think to say that this motorcycle dips in slowly is going to be a massive understatement. However, I have not ridden this motorcycle, so I'm going to withhold judgment. I am going to be riding this motorcycle though. We're going to Sturgis the beginning of August, and we're going to be riding the Pan America and the Sportster S. I'm very excited for that. And that's when you're really going to get the shakedown. But right now, these are my initial impressions. Now, aside from the 160/70/17 front tire on this thing that has me very worried, the next thing that has me worried is size. They have claimed that this bike is in running order at 503 pounds. For a Harley, that is very lightweight. If this is actually 500 pounds, it is going to boogie. And we thought the Scout was fast. This thing is going to dust up on every Scout. There's just no competition here. Now, I think that this bike is too small. And that's coming from a guy who is a sizable human being. This Rebel is too small for me. I can make it work. But I was watching the video, again, we'll talk about that in a minute, that they had Jochen Zeitz, the CEO, and another guy, I don't remember his name, riding around in Scotland after they were welcomed by Ewan McGregor. It was really clear to me how small this motorcycle is. It's going to basically feel like a Scout, except shorter, because if you look at the tail of the motorcycle, it is very stumpy, very stubby, and basically right up under your butt. They were trying to go for that XR750 look, and I don't think they quite nailed it. It looks like it's unfinished and it's missing parts. And that's going to get into the looks of this motorcycle here. I don't like the way it looks. I'm sorry, I just don't. Between the massive front tire, the short stubby tail, the ginormous exhaust, like the exhaust on this motorcycle, it's probably this big. It's huge, and it's sitting right up under the tail of the bike. No thanks. It just does not look good to me. I can kind of see if I squint. If I squint, I can just see the Harley Sportster Roadster in there as kind of a, design ethos, but I just feel like it's too compromised in the looks. It's really hard for me to make the case for it. Now, what's cool about this motorcycle is it does have technology on it. We've got a TFT dash, we've got cornering ABS, we've got a bunch of other traction control systems. It's nice to see a Harley Davidson that's coming with a sporty engine and a tech package to back it up. It makes me really hopeful for a bike like the Bronx, which thankfully does not look as horrendous. I'm really sorry, Harley. I just don't think you nailed the Sportster S. I think you need to put it back in the oven a little bit longer. Now, let's take a second and talk about that video that they put out. 13 minutes on YouTube. I highly recommend that you go look at it. It felt to me a lot more like we were watching the press launch of a Ducati than a Harley Davidson. It didn't feel to me like they were trying to stick to any of the brand whatsoever. And I'm in two minds about that. I honestly am. I think that them kowtowing to the old guard is bad. It's the reason why we have motorcycles that just don't really work all that well. However, for them to go so far away, to be so antithetical to the brand, it felt funny. It didn't feel like Harley Davidson to me. I think of a Sportster in my brain and I'm like, it's the spirit of a motor company that's prided itself on having a bike that everybody makes their own. And the Sportster S just didn't feel that way to me in this video. It felt like you get this motorcycle and it's your finisher bike and we go and rip around on it on the weekends. It doesn't feel like the modder's dream that the Evo Sportster was. And maybe in 70 years, because it has been 70 years since the Sportster first came out, maybe in 70 years this one will be the modder's dream, but we're really starting from scratch here with this motorcycle. Now, like I said, I am cautiously optimistic. I really am. I want this motorcycle to succeed, but I'm also very nervous because I see this motorcycle going the way of the V-Rod, where it's this stunning motorcycle that people really like and causes a splash, but I just don't see people buying it. I really don't. It doesn't feel like the average Sportster to me, and it's no replacement, that's for sure. It's not going to replace the Sportster, and that's really why I think they should have abandoned the nameplate. I honestly think at this point, you take the Sportster name and you retire it like Michael Jordan's number or Babe Ruth's number, and you like, well, look, this bike served us well, it carried us through some hard times, let's give it the Viking funeral that it deserves, and let's bring on a new guard of motorcycles to take its place that's not trying to be the Sportster. It doesn't feel to me like they quite nailed this bike. Again, I am going to test ride this bike in Sturgis, and when I get my hands on this motorcycle, you can expect a thorough shakedown. I have a whole day booked with this motorcycle, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on it, really figure out exactly what it's all about, because I am one of the people out there who wants it to succeed the most. I'm really excited for the direction that this represents for the motor company, and we'll just have to see what happens, because right now, it doesn't feel like it got the welcome it needed. But that's my initial impressions on the Sportster launch. Why don't you let me know what you think down below, although I guarantee you probably already have. I'm actually going to read through a lot of these comments because I'm very curious to see what people want to say about this motorcycle, how they've received it, because the Sportster is really kind of the American people's motorcycle, Everybody knows somebody on a Sportster, and I'm very curious what y'all's thoughts are on it. So let me know what you think of it down below, and until next time, I'll see you later.
Now, how you doing, partner? This video's over, but you click on this one right over here. You keep watching yourself some Yammie Noob. Maybe I bend my boost on this one. Maybe I'll give you some other funny memes or something like that. You might not know if you watch the video, so watch the video now, all right?